No name for now. Right, 10-4.
Hi, my name's Matt Widgery from mattwidgery.com. In today's episode, we're going to be looking at the 3 T's to make you a better photographer. In fact, scratch that, the 3 T's that will get you better at pretty much any skill that you want to try in life. So, the first one is technique. Technique is probably the easiest one to get your head around because technique simply means that you understand the mechanical nature of what it is that you're trying to do, the physical sort of aspects of it. So in the case of photography, it means you understand your exposure triangle, you understand ISO and shutter speed and aperture, and it becomes instinctive. You know the technical aspect of your camera, you know where on the actual physical black box in your hand you need to be changing the buttons and the dials over in order to get the right result. So that stuff is pretty easy. It's just a question of learning all this stuff, and luckily there are a bunch of resources online where you can go and find these things, like this channel here and plenty others besides, but also offline. It's really a good idea to come and do some workshops and meet up with other photographers and learn from them and get out on the street and get out into real life and actually practice with these things. Practice and practice and practice. And that brings me on to number 2. So number 2 is time. And time is probably the most undervalued of all the 3 T's that we're going to be talking about today, because it's the thing that most people think, well, you know, I want it now. I don't want to wait for anything. I want it immediate, instant results. And if I don't get immediately as good as Cartier-Bresson, I'm going to quit and give up and do something else with my life. But Cartier-Bresson, Ansel Adams, David Bailey, every photographer that you admire and whose work is great and that sings through the ages, they are out every single day with their camera and are for years and years and years and years. And that's how they got good. They wouldn't be household names if they hadn't put in that daily grind, getting practiced, getting better, taking pictures all the time. And so that's really, there's no getting away from time. You have to be doing it as much as possible. And the more time you put in, the better the photos that you'll get out. So get your techniques, T number 1. Get your time, add that to it. And so you practice your techniques until they become second nature. And you get out and you spend the time making the pictures. And the more time you dedicate to your photography, the more chance there is that you'll get better. And the third one is talent. Now, talent may well be the most controversial of all the 3 T's, because we live in a world now where kids get given a medal at sports day simply for turning up. However, there is such a thing as people being naturally good at some things and not others. I, for example, would quite happily spend all of my time on my first 2 T's of technique and time training to become an astronaut. It would be really cool to float around in a spaceship looking down on Earth. That would be wonderful. However, I know that my brain isn't particularly good at doing maths. Sadly, that's one of the major things that you need to be good at if you want to be an astronaut. So it's pretty hopeless for me to try doing that, because I'm never going to get to that top level and be able to be accepted into NASA. I'd never pass the exams. Luckily, however, I do have a relative amount of aptitude for doing photography, and so I focus all my strengths, my first 2 T's of technique and time, on that. And that allows me to get better and better, and that is where the reward comes from. It's very satisfying to do a thing better and better and better, and to see the improvement in your own work. So, if you are not as talented as Ansel Adams, does that mean that you should never bother doing landscape photography? Of course not. Ansel Adams is Ansel Adams. There's only one of him. But for the rest of us, we can see an improvement in what we do, and that in itself is its own reward. Whether or not we ever get exhibited into MoMA is by the by, frankly, because it happens to such a small percentage of us photographers that it shouldn't really be the ultimate goal. Your ultimate goal should be to be as good as you can possibly be in life, and so long as you're getting satisfaction and deriving some reward from that, some personal reward from that, that's all that can be all that can be asked for. And if you're very lucky enough to be super talented and you do get all your techniques down and you do invest the time, then there is nothing to stop you being a great photographer. And if you apply those same techniques to any other skill in life, you will be great at that too. So that is my 3 T's for success. Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe on the button at that's up on the screen now. And I shall see you all again soon. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.